Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. In the description of this video, you can find my compiled link. Through there, you can find ways to support the channel, my other social media, and more. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching. How's it going, everybody? CJ here, back another video. We're doing a first thoughts today. This first thought is on Rohgahh, Kher Overlord. So we got Kobolds, Kobold Tribal, Kobold Lord. This card's sweet. It's also a Dragon Tribal card. Little interesting there. So this is kind of like a dual tribal card like Rin and Siri was. So Changelings seems like it's going to be very good in this deck. The categories I'm going to be talking about are Changelings, first of all, because it seems like one of the best strategies to do with this. Then we have Kobold cards, Dragons, and then a bunch of one-off cards in the 99. So, the reason why Changelings are so strong here are Changelings count as both Kobolds and Dragons. So when you cast a Changeling, both triggers will go off where you make a Kobold and you can pay 2 to make a Dragon. That seems pretty powerful. So you're just going to want to run a lot of Changelings. Plus, they're going to get the +2/+2 boost because they are Kobolds. Seems like a no-brainer, right? Yeah, you're going to want to run all the Changelings that you can in this deck, which are Bloodline Pretender, Kher Wanderer, Changeling Berserker, Changeling Outcast, Firebelly Changeling, Ghostly Changeling, Grave Sifter. That's nice because it can also bring back a creature from your graveyard to your hand. Moonglove Changeling, Skeletal Changeling, Taurian Mauler, that one gets really big. Universal Automaton, Venomous Changeling, and Warspike Changeling. You can also run Nameless Inversion and Blades of Velis Vel, because both of those are tribal cards even though they're instants, which is interesting. So since they are tribal cards with Changeling, when you cast them, even though they're instants, you're still going to have the trigger of Kobold being cast and Dragon being cast. So nice little nifty cards there. Those all seem very important for this deck, just so that way you can get as many triggers as possible, you can make as many tokens as possible. You're also going to want to run Maskwood Nexus, because it can turn all your dragons into kobolds and all your kobolds into dragons, so every single card you're casting will have double triggers. Plus, it can create changelings, which means that you're creating kobolds, which is good. Other cards that create changelings include Black Market Connections and Birthing Bows. Both of those, great includes in this deck. You could also run Conspiracy for a secondary Maskwood Nexus. You'd probably name Kobolds because you get the Lordship there, and the Dragon tokens are definitely better than the Kobold tokens. So that seems pretty good there. Next up, we're going to talk about Kobolds, because why would you not have Kobolds in a Kobold tribal commander? All the Kobolds in Magic include Crimson Kobolds, Crookshank Kobolds, Kobolds of Kher Keep, and Rohgahh. All of those are also 0 mana, which is really nice because that means you can cast one for free, pay the 2 mana, and make a dragon. So you're paying 2 mana for a dragon and a Kobold that's getting +2/+2. That seems pretty good. Plus Rohgah's got a bunch of keywords, which makes it a lot better. So that's a good one to include for sure. You also have Kobold Drill Sergeant, Kobold Overlord. You also have Minion of the Mighty and Nogi. Both of those are kobolds that care about dragons, which is a nice little synergy there. Taunting Kobold. You can also run Kher Keep because you have the +2/+2 bonus to all your kobolds. That seems pretty good. You also have the original Rohgahh, which is pretty cool for this deck actually, because the commander is specifically making kobolds of Kher Keep, while the original Rohgahh is pumping specifically kobolds of Kher Keep. So it kind of works with that. It works pretty well. You can have a +4/+4 anthem to all of your kobolds. Well, specifically your kobolds of Kher Keep. That seems pretty good. Next, I'm going to talk about the dragons you can include in this deck. Some ones that caught my eye as being pretty good for this deck include Ancient Copper Dragon. That card seems bonkers. Same thing with Balefire Dragon, just very powerful dragons there. Ebon Death is cool because you can cast it from your graveyard, so every time it dies you can recast it at instant speed too, and you get to make a kobold when you do. Ganex is pretty cool because it has a trigger whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under your control to make a treasure, so that works really well with your tokens. Hellkite Tyrant's just a sweet dragon to include. Lathless doesn't work specifically well with your tokens, but if you're running a lot of actual dragons, it can create a lot of extra tokens. Nesting Dragon can create a lot of dragon tokens as well, which is pretty cool. Scourge of Valkus works really well with your dragon tokens and your other dragons just because of all the ETBs. Thunderbreak Regent provides protection to all your dragons. Terror of the Peaks works really well with everything that you're doing here, because every time you cast a creature, you're basically making 2 creatures. So that will make Terror of the Peaks trigger twice every time you cast a creature. That seems awesome. I think that is a fantastic card for this deck. Like, awesome card for this deck. Uvara Hellkite works really well when you're going big and wide with dragons, because even your dragon tokens will trigger it. And Wrathful Red Dragon, just more dragon protection. It kind of gives them a stuffy doll style of effect, which can be pretty strong with the right cards. Like say you have Blasphemous Act or something. That'd be real good. Really, really good. Some dragons that are really cheap seem pretty decent too, because you can cast them and get a free Kobold out of them, which is not too bad. So Slumbering Dragon is 1 mana. It's the only 1 mana dragon in these colors. But it seems like it would work pretty well in the deck. It's just 1 mana, you get 2 creatures out of it, and one of them is a 2/3 when your commander's in play. That seems pretty good. You also have Dragon Hatchling, Reckless Barbarian, and Smoldering Egg. Those are all 2 mana dragons. Those seem pretty decent as well. And if you're going to go heavy into dragons, you should run some Dragon Tribal stuff like Crucible of Fire. Dragon Master Outcast isn't really Dragon Tribal, but it creates more dragon tokens. Dragon's Horde, Dragon's Tempest. Magda seems phenomenal in this deck actually, because if you're going heavy on changelings, those are all dwarves as well. So when you tap them, you get to make treasure tokens, and you can sack the treasures to pull dragons out of your deck. It just seems really cool in this deck. I think Magda is a very good include in this deck for sure, if you go the changeling route, which you probably should with this commander. And we also have Dragon Speaker Shaman, just to make your dragons cost a little bit less mana. Now we're on to the one-off cards, starting up with some tribal stuff. So if you want to lean heavier into one tribe or the other, if you want to lean heavy into a tribe, you're probably leaning heavier into dragons just because there's not a lot of kobolds. But if you want to go kobold tribal, go for it, seems fun. But also your changelings will work really well with these cards as well. There's Herald's Horn, Urza's Incubator, Vanquisher's Banner, and Patriarch's Bidding. All of those can put in a lot of work if you're leaning heavier into one side or the other, or if you're just running a lot of changelings. Then we have Possibility Storm, because Rohgahh triggers on cast, not ETB, not resolution, cast. So if you cast a Kobold for 0 mana into Possibility Storm, you get a trigger to make a dragon. Then Possibility Storm will also trigger, making you flip until you hit the next creature, which you then get to cast. And so let's say you hit a Kobold you cast a Kobold for 0 mana, and you Possibility Storm into a dragon. You get the dragon into play, you get a trigger to make a Kobold off the dragon, and you get a trigger to make a dragon off the original Kobold. That seems really sweet. Plus it messes up with your opponents, so that's always fun. Possibility Storm's just a sweet card, and I love it. And I think there's a great deck for it. You also have Cloudstone Curio, so that way you can bounce creatures back to your hand, like a 0 mana Kobold. You can keep bouncing it back to your hand, and recasting it for 0 mana, paying 2 mana to make a dragon, and just doing that over and over and over again. That seems really powerful. There's also cards that turn into the one creature or the other, or both creatures. You won't get the cast trigger off of them like you would with the changelings, but cards like Adaptive Automaton, Faceless Haven, and Mutavault can all take advantage of the +2/+2 that Rohgahh provides. And lastly, this little category I want to mention here, if you're running all these changelings, you could do this as tribal. This could be a very cool tribal commander. So you can run cards like Captivating Vampire, Species Specialist, Blight Mound, Sethron, Timothar, Meronar, Neheb, any card that really interacts with a certain creature type, and it'll just buff up all your changelings. That could be really cool. You also throw in Amorphous Axe to give any of your creatures all creature types, which seems pretty cool. I like that a lot. I think that's a really cool deck for tribal. I may try to put that together. I've tried to do tribal before, but I've never made it work the way I want to. This might be the commander that does it. We'll see when I do it. And the last thing I want to talk about is in the 99. There's not a lot of decks that care about kobolds, but if you're running a tribal deck, this is probably a card that you really want to consider for it. Also, Prosh. This seems great in Prosh because when Prosh enters, he makes a bunch of tokens, and if you have Rohgahh in play, those tokens are actually useful as opposed to just being fodder for Prosh, which is pretty cool. I like that. That seems like a powerful include there. And that is everything I have for Rohgahh Kher Keep Overlord. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Peace out, everybody.